Hello, everyone. Welcome from sunny, very sunny Las Vegas. I went outside for the first time yesterday, and holy cow, it was hot. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I think it was still 92 degrees. So
I was going to say, I didn't know because I've been inside for 2 days.
Yeah, I made a joke to the people we were walking with that, man, I don't remember ISC ever being this warm in the evenings. And they all had a good laugh because obviously ISC is at a different time this year, so kind of fun. But welcome. We're glad you're all here. Disappointed that you couldn't come see us in Vegas. Kind of a interesting year for all of us. So that's just the way it goes. But we're excited to have you today. We've got Neil Jones and Whitney White on our chat and questions. We'll try and look at them and participate with them as much as we can from the screen. But we're operating off of one laptop screen. Kevin's laptop is running the video that hopefully you've seen on social media and on our website. On the screen behind us, just to add a little color here. And we've got some awesome IQ Panel 4 that we want to tell you all about. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But before we dive in, make sure that your audio is working. Make sure you find the chat or question section. We want you to, chime in. Tell us where you're calling in from. Help us know what's happening. It looks like I got Dave saying, I have no sound. Is it me or you? I'm guessing it's you because you're the only person that said something, Dave. Official documents guides available yet? Julia asks. Yes and no. We've got them built, but we're in the process of getting them onto our dealer portal. So great question. Welcome, Dave from Ontario. Looks like Adam in England. Welcome. Awesome. Jorge from Alarm Grid. Good to see you, buddy. Looks like Jorge's in Florida. Great. Yep, that's where Alarm Grid's down. Mark in Austin, Texas. Nick in Paris, France. I love that we got so many international friends joining us for stuff. So Mary in Marietta, Georgia. Wow. Michael, Don, Victoria, Thomas. So many great people on. Thank you so much for joining and participating and supporting us in this. Let's dive right into, before we start, I do have a qualifying question, poll question that I want to understand. This will help us kind of to frame the conversation. I want to know if you're currently installing IQ Panel. That helps us know, are we comparing it against what you know, or do we need to kind of start from scratch on you? And I'm guessing most people are going to say that they're currently installing IQ Panel. Let's see what we got here. No, 89% says yes, and a very small percentage, 11% says not yet. And we've got hundreds of people on today, so that's a good representation. So looks like we've got some, and I'm guessing a lot of those not yet people are people overseas because, over in some of those countries, we're not quite launched with IQ Panel in Paris and Spain and Portugal and things like that. So again, welcome everyone. We're really glad you're on today. So we are intending on showing you the same basic demo that we've been doing for people as they come and visit us in the suite and in our meeting room here at ISC West in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we wanted to make sure that you had a chance to ask questions and participate. So please put those in the chat as you talk. But let's start first with a little bit of foundation. Let's talk about, Kevin, tell us, IQ Panel 4 was built to be faster, better, stronger. Help us understand that.
Yeah, so, I like to equate things to technology. When I think about technology, I obviously think about our phones.
Yep.
And we know that new phones come out every single year, right? And every year it's about more horsepower under the hood, a faster chipset,
better camera.
And that then, inevitably leads to better software, new features, new functions over time, right? So that's kind of the model that we're in. And when we think about IQ Panel 2, we'll talk a little bit that as a base, how that's the baseline for IQ Panel 4. But that's it's been out for 4 or 5 years, right?
And prior to that, there was so there's IQ Panel 2 Plus currently, IQ Panel 2 before that, and our first generation IQ Panel. And as we've iterated on each generation, each one has gotten faster. It's gotten a better camera. It's gotten better, range. It's gotten better technology, things like that. And that's no different for IQ Panel 4.
Yeah, totally. And so from a chipset perspective, when you think about a 4-year technology gap, a leap, think back to your phones 4 years ago, that's a huge step forward. And so that's a big part of what's in IQ
Anyone
Panel
still
4.
using an iPhone 5? Put that in the chat.
So a huge part of what's in IQ Panel 4 is actually what you can't see, right? It's what's on the inside. It's the 8-core processor. It's the new integrated SOM, system on a module. It's all the horsepower under the hood.
And we worked really hard to not only, make it stronger and faster, but also to extend the distance of all the radios. I mean, like Power G goes farther than an IQ Panel 2. All these different wireless radios, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, LTE, Power G, the legacy frequency, we've improved all of them to make them more responsive and to be able to reach further, because that's, again, even though Power G goes so far, that's still feedback that everybody wants better range.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way we think about that from a hardware perspective. We'll get into some of the design elements and some of the new features and functions, but at our level, we're thinking about kind of what's inside first, and how do we build a platform and architecture that's scalable, that's robust, that then is going to allow us to do another 4 and 5 years of software updates and continue to improve. When I think about when IQ Panel 2 launched, it was a great panel. It had a great UI. There was a lot of things to love, but if you really look back at the software updates and what was added over time,
massive,
be it, partitions or
live view, live answer,
streaming cameras to the panel, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff has been added over time. And the great part is that from a software perspective, that becomes the baseline for IQ Panel 4.
Forward compatible hardware is what I like to call it. It's hardware that we've taken and said, hey, we're compatible not just with what we've done in the past, but we're also compatible with what's happening in the future. And we've got a very long and exciting roadmap of things that we're not going to get into today, but things that we'll be continuing to develop on IQ Panel 4 to help bring new features, new software, new compatibility, new devices, and new capabilities to the panel over time. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, and so I like to say, everything you know and love about IQ Panel 2, all the features, all the settings, all the different UI and wellness and builder and MDU and
Yeah, and that's actually been a concern as we've met with people here at ISC. They're like, oh, but what about training? Do you have training? I need to go train people on the new panel. And our response is, actually, you don't need that. There's some new things as far as the actual installation goes, improvements we've made, and we'll talk about those today. But essentially, the UI is identical. So if you already know how to use IQ Panel 2, which, the vast majority of you listening today said you do, then you already know how to use IQ Panel 4.
That's right. And that makes it so much easier from a training perspective, whether it's sales, technician, customer care, tech support, your collateral, your own customers. So we got a lot of good feedback there. We are working on some secret things for the future as it relates to the UI, but for now, we're very happy to keep this dynamic swiping UI in place. So.
Yeah, pretty exciting. So outside of the user interface being the same and then the hardware itself being faster, we've also made some nice hardware improvements for the installation process. And the first one we want to talk about is Smart Mount.
Yeah, so this one's near and dear to my heart, and if we have any technicians on the line here, I think it'll be near and dear to yours as well. One of the things we try to do really hard is listen to our customers, listen to you, get your feedback. We kind of have our ear to the ground and learning what you like and what you don't like. And one of the things that was very difficult on the Gen 2 panel was to get the clamshell closed, to actually get it on the wall, get it to seat right. And we spent a lot of time training you, and I know many of you are experts at that now. You can do it in a heartbeat, which is great, but we wanted to take the time to improve on that, and so we certainly did. We're going to reference this here in a second. You see we've got a white panel in the back. We've got a black panel here in the front. We're going to talk about some of these pieces and parts, but I'm going to use this wall mount bracket as my example today. So we spent a lot of time on this wall mount bracket and really improving it, making it easier and faster to install. We kept a lot of things that worked really well on the Gen 2 panel, like single, double, triple gang box installation. So whether you're in a builder program, taking over a pre-wired keypad connection to a single gang mud ring, you can mount to that. Maybe you've got a double, maybe you're in a commercial setting where you're mounting it directly to a box, and you've got some conduit running up the wall. So lots of flexible mounting options here. Really big opening in the back that allows you to kind of get that back plate where you need it. I think we've all been in homes, I installed for a lot of years, where the wire pops out of the wall in a not so ideal location, and you have to kind of get this to fit with the trim and everything else. So we tried to make that as flexible as possible. The next thing we did is we actually moved the terminal block directly to the back plate. So a little bit similar to
I love this, by the way. This is by far my favorite part of the Smart Mount system.
Yeah, so a little bit similar to a thermostat. This really allows you to get your hands free. It's got a little plus and minus symbol here. It's a very simple, easy connection. You can wire it directly to the back plate, and then when you sit the panel down on these Smart Mount tabs, it actually docks into the back plate and gets its power directly from the back plate.
So if you didn't pick that up, you mount the back plate, this thing, to the wall, put your wires in. You're done. Snap,
yep.
and you're in place. Smart mount. We love it.
Yep. And then, so we're excited about that. We love that. And of course, we still have a barrel jack connection. If you want to use the barrel jack that comes with every panel, you can plug that right to the back of the panel and still sit it down here on the dock and go that way as well. So really flexible from a powering perspective. Now we take the same concept here, this kind of docking concept, and we move that to our table stand. So we have a new table stand, and this is kind of our elegant, more simple design, just kind of lets the panel sit there and float on the desk. We see a lot more customers using deck stands as an installation method, right? Regardless of your actual business model, whether you're DIY, whether you're shipping through the internet, whether you're professional install and visiting every home, we see a lot more people doing table mounts nowadays. Sometimes that's for labor reasons, sometimes that's speed of installation, sometimes that's what the customer wants. They want it in a central location, they want it on the countertop, and we can definitely do that here with this table stand. And then something I think a lot of people have been asking about on Facebook here the last couple of days is the actual speaker base. So this is an optional speaker base system. We call it the IQ base. And, this really just goes with the panel if you want. If you're going to mount it in the kitchen and you want that kind of extra volume, that extra sound, a little bit more bass in your music, this thing is awesome. We designed this again to fit the smart mount. It's got a nice little connection here. You just plug it into the back of the panel, and then you use your barrel jack on the bottom of the base. So this is a single wire connection. All the power flows all the way through. Everything gets connected with this. A very simple connector, and all you have to do is snap it down and put it on here, and it sounds amazing.
And that brings us to our first software differentiator that we've added, which is music streaming. We've now added the ability, so if you're familiar with IQ Panel 2 and IQ Panel 2 Plus, we had what was called Bluetooth touchless disarming, and you could pair your phone, your smartphone, up to 5 of them with the panel, and when the phone comes in range, it automatically deactivates the security system, from an away mode. So you're coming home, it automatically disarms. You can, create some rules that say unlock my front door, turn on my lights, adjust my thermostat back up to my regular scheduled temperature. It's a great coming home experience. And as our team kept talking about, what else can we do with Bluetooth? What else can we do with Wi-Fi? What else can we do with all these other technologies? And the interest in music became more and more. We said, well, can we do music streaming? And of course, everybody's, I use Spotify, I use Apple Music, I use, Pandora, et cetera. And everybody's kind of fighting over it. We thought, well, if we could just turn this into a Bluetooth speaker and let you stream whatever music is from your phone, whatever sounds are from your phone. You're watching YouTube, have it play on that. You literally connect the same way you would for Bluetooth touchless disarming, and now all of a sudden all your music, all your sounds, all your everything can play right through the speaker. So it's a great experience to be able to install on a kitchen counter, in a main living area, whatever, and not only have access to your live view, live answer, to your, adjusting the thermostat, turning on lights, locking the door, but also now be able to stream some music. Kevin, you want to do a quick little demo? I don't know how well it's going to work, but maybe pull your phone out and let's show them how it works. It's pretty cool. Like, show them how you connect.
I will. I'm not sure if I'm still connected to this one, so we'll do that live here for you. In fact, let me just forget this connection in case it's to a different panel here.
So I'm going to swipe down on the panel. I don't know. I think you can see this. And I'm going to go to settings. Okay. And I'm going to go to advanced.
Enter user code.
Okay, I told you it was loud. Okay, and I'm going to go into the installation settings, and I'm going to devices, Bluetooth devices.
Go delete my device.
Yeah, and we're going to delete Kevin's device previously. There's Kevin Woodworth, delete. And now we're going to add device, add phone. Okay, so now it's in Bluetooth pairing mode. Okay, see if I can get that so you can still kind of see it. And Kevin's connecting to it with his phone. Wait for it to pop up there. Should give me a nice little message saying, do the codes match?
All right.
Yeah, and you look at that code, make sure it matches, click pair on the phone. Now, for Bluetooth touchless disarming, it only connects for a brief moment. It creates a connection, and then it releases that connection. For music streaming, you would go into your Bluetooth settings on your phone and simply tap it to connect it. Same as you would a headphone, a set of headphones, or a Bluetooth speaker. Okay.
So if you guys can see that, I just connected from my phone. So, like, just to reiterate, because some people have asked how this works. For Bluetooth disarming, we do what we call a passive connection, where it's connected on the panel but shows not connected on your phone. For Bluetooth streaming, All you have to do is touch connected, or touch it on your phone. That will show connected. I can go to any music app. I'm an Apple Music guy, so I'm going to go ahead and go here. You can control the sound.
Hey, brother, there's an endless world to rediscover. Hey, sister, no longer.
Yeah, not sure how well that comes through on the phone, guys, but it sounds incredible. Really fills the whole room here with sound. And, aside from music streaming, this is great for two-way voice. This is great for your everyday chimes and voices, front door open, front door closed, arm stay, etc. People are really loving the extra volume. And we heard that time and time again on the Gen 2 panel with kind of the smaller speakers off to the side, that people just wanted louder, more robust sounds for everyday use.
But you don't need the IQ base in order to have great sound on the IQ panel.
No,
right?
you don't. Yeah, we have, so on the front of the panel, we have what we call quad sound speakers. So on the Gen 2 panel, we had two 1-watt speakers on the side of the panel that kind of fired sideways, right? So pretty small speakers in comparison.
I don't know how you got this thing off. I
had a screwdriver.
Yeah, I had that. I just don't want to break it. You're not supposed to do this, but I'm gonna do this for you guys because I love you.
Need a little flat.
There we go. When in doubt, use the room key. So we have quad sound speakers. These are 4-watt speakers. IQ Panel 2 had 2 1-watt speakers, and this is 4 4-watt speakers. So right on the front of the panel, even if you just wall mounted and you didn't use an IQ base, you're still going to get some great sound. But then you add the IQ base, and you've got some awesome lows as well. This is a table stand subwoofer.
Yep. And then going along with those speakers, when it comes to two-way voice, when it comes to talking to your doorbells or your cameras through the panel, we actually added the third microphone. So IQ Panel 2 has 2 microphones. IQ Panel 4 has 3. These 2 fire directly frontward, right outside the LEDs here. And then we actually have a back microphone that fires backwards as an echo noise cancellation microphone. You'll also notice that there's an LED on the back. It's probably hard to see here. There's actually an LED that kind of lights up the back side of the panel against the wall, which is pretty cool. And you can control those LEDs in settings if you want to turn those off or change those. So really good two-way voice, really, really good audio quality for kind of everyday usage, and then Bluetooth streaming.
Pretty strong.
It's great, yeah.
Let's talk about the next major hardware feature, and that's the camera. As far as the installation process goes, we really worked hard to make it easier to mount on the wall than ever before with our new smart mount system. And of course, great options for table stands. But because people are doing more and more table stands, and with this new IQ base, we knew that the camera would not always be perfectly aligned with the angle of image that you're trying to capture. So we added in what we call flex tilt to the camera. Now, first off, the camera itself is vastly improved. On IQ Panel 2, we had a 5-megapixel camera. IQ Panel 4 has an 8-megapixel camera, and it's got a 120-degree field of view, so it's very wide angle. And with this new flex tilt, okay, you see this little screw right here. You can literally turn this screw, and it causes the camera inside here to go up and down. And I don't know if we can show you this, but I'm going to try. If I take this right here, the little screw, okay, I take this, and as I do this, you can kind of see that camera is now angled. You see that? So you can now say, oh, I'm doing a wall mount, and it's kind of high. Maybe I'm replacing a panel that was already there. The previous homeowner, it was mounted a little higher than my current homeowner. They wish it wasn't so high, but I got to cover that hole. Well, now I can take the camera, angle it down a little bit, and give you that perfect view. So it'll be a nice, it's not something that end user is going to be doing, but it will definitely be a nice thing for the installer to make sure he gets that perfect installation experience.
And that's something, again, this was kind of direct feedback from the Gen 2 panel, right? That's something we heard kind of over and over, is having a little bit more flexible angle for the camera, a little bit wider field of view. Every install is so different. And like Jeremy said, whether you're, oftentimes you're taking over an existing keypad, and it was a regular hardwired keypad that was not at an optimal height for a panel camera, right? So you either got pictures of people's foreheads, pictures of people's belly buttons, or certainly if you were on the table, then you're going to be staring at the ceiling. So really giving control over that camera and being able to angle that for the best picture, it kind of matters. And look, I mentioned before the powerful hardware and kind of the flexible software going forward, building on our past here. I think you're gonna really like some of the improvements down the road in software to the panel camera. And as it becomes more and more and more robust, being able to kind of move that camera and capture that field of view, what you want to look at, will be even more important than it is today. So really excited about that.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So let's see, we've talked about the new faster, better, stronger, better range, faster processor, things like that in the hardware. We've talked about smart mount, the easier way to install the system regardless of which option you choose. We've talked about Bluetooth music streaming. We've talked about the new improved camera. I'm trying to think of what else we want to share today.
I want to call out I know we talked about IQ base, but you've probably noticed this one's a light gray fabric, this IQ base. So this goes with the white panel, right? So we've got light gray fabric here on the front of the white panel. And then we have a charcoal fabric one that goes with the black panel. And so you'll actually get to choose which one you want to buy. So type in the comments there. We're very curious on your feedback on the black panel. We want to know what you think about it. Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, would you install black on a wall or a table stand? Would you prefer white on a wall or a table stand? Would you let your customer choose?
Is it residential versus commercial?
Residential versus commercial. I mean, it's lots of interesting things there. And of course, one of the things we love is to give you the flexibility to be able to do what's best for your business. But it is interesting for us to know, the feedback from the field. I've of course gotten feedback as we've developed it from some of our key customers who've been behind the curtain, helping us develop this, things like that. But now as we, share this with the broader audience, we're very interested in your feedback as well.
Let's take some questions.
Absolutely. I want to pull up the chat here and see what kind of things people are saying. I'm guessing everyone's totally bored by now, right? They're like, gosh, Vegas in July, I'm not even interested. Again, thanks everyone for joining today. Let's see here. How many additional touch screens can be added to the IQ Panel 4 system? Great question from Kevin.
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that we're super excited about is the backwards compatibility, right? Oftentimes when you go to a new generation panel, you have to, get all new secondary keypads, and sometimes you support most legacy devices, but not all. In this case, we're going to be supporting everything, right? So the IQ remote, Wi-Fi touchscreen still works. Now, I've seen a lot of comments on the social media threads about some new additions to IQ remote. Those are coming. We have some really cool things in the works for that product that'll be out here a little later this year. So we're super excited about that. The secondary keypad kind of has its own roadmap as well. But all the ones you have installed out there today, they're just going to work. They'll pair directly to the panel the same way through Wi-Fi, access point, IQ Wi-Fi, which we had a webinar on last week. So they're all going to work, and it's free. So it's 3 IQ Wi-Fis to be clear. We can do 5 Power G keypads, right? So that's a total of 8 plus the main panel. And then we actually support hardwired keypads through the Power G hardwire translator. So for those of you that are familiar with our Power G hardwire translator, you can bolt that in place of an existing traditional hardwire security system, and then use that 4-conductor cable with the bus wires, the core bus, to take over the existing or add a hardwired keypad in the existing location, I should say. And that's 2 keypads per module. We support 2 modules. So in total,
that's a lot of keypads.
Yeah, you could have 4 hardwired keypads, 5 wireless Power G keypads, and 3 remote touchscreens on Wi-Fi in addition to the main panel. So
you could have one on every wall. Imagine sitting in your living room and being able to control over here, control over here.
You could do a picture wall.
Yeah, there you go. It'd be amazing. So great question, Kevin. Thanks very much. And of course, one point, and several people are asking this question, will it work with the existing, whatever. One thing we worked really hard on is to make sure that it works with all of the stuff you already do. So you're not going to lose any functionality, but when you go to IQ Panel 4, you still have the 3 flavors that we call them. You still have 319, an option to have Power G with 319, which works with your Interlogic sensors as well as Qualys S-Line sensors. You've got Power G with 345, which gives you the ability to use, we haven't talked about it yet, but we will. Yeah. Power G with 345, which allows you to, take over Honeywell systems or 2 gig systems, but then also add in new Power G sensors. And then Power G with 433, which allows you to, be compatible with DSP systems. And then, of course, all the sensors that you love, all the Z-Wave devices you love. Oh, that's another important thing, is Z-Wave is improved. We now have Z-Wave 700 series in this, which means that your Z-Wave is going to be faster, it's going to be able to reach farther, and more responsive. So we're really excited to be partnering with Silicon Labs and do that. And there was many of you probably saw the press release from Silicon Labs announcing us using Z-Wave 700 series, in the IQ Panel 4. So we're excited about that one as well. So again, that whole we're trying to make it faster. We're trying to make it farther, trying to make, do a better job, expanding out.
And quickly, while Jeremy's looking up other questions here, I did want to touch on IQ Wi-Fi. Again, I think a lot of you joined the webinar last week. Hopefully you got to see this product. If not, go to the website and check it out. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this for this webinar, but as it relates to ISC West, this has been one of the smash hits of the show. Super good feedback. This is out now, right? Everybody's using it.
You and I have been using this now for about a year now with phenomenal results in our own homes, right?
Yeah, and whether you're connecting panels and secondary keypads or cameras and doorbells, having a purpose-built router that's super easy to install, you can configure and control it directly from the panel. The feedback so far has just been awesome. So we didn't want to not talk about that.
Yeah, that's definitely been a highlight of the show here. And we're really looking forward to seeing you guys, and many of you are already installing this, and we see on Facebook and other places, some of the rave reviews you've given us about it, and we're really proud of this product. So if you haven't had a chance to play with IQ Wi-Fi yet, please, go pick some up from your distributor and go try them out. We think it'll vastly improve it. And a lot of the frustrations that people were having with doorbells, cameras, IQ remotes, etc., that they were previously believing were some hardware problems on our standpoint, turns out it was just a bad customer's network. So if you can give them a really great network to be able to base all those products on, a lot of those problems kind of go away. So pretty awesome. We're getting a lot of questions about the desk stands and base and things like that. The IQ panel will come with the wall mount stand with that bracket that we talked about that allows you to wire it in and then click it right onto the wall. If sold separately, will be either the standard table stand or the IQ base. And we did that specifically because we knew that, with, call it 20% and growing percentage of people who are using it on a table stand type situation, that means there's still a fairly significant percentage of people who are throwing that away. And that creates waste for our environment. We're all about sustainability. We've got our sustainability t-shirts on today, so we don't want to waste. And so we said, you know what, let's make it separate. And that also helps us keep costs down low too. So as a technician, as a company, you'll be able to buy a pack of table stands, keep them on your truck, pull one out whenever you need one. And of course, IQ Base will be sold in individual units for you as well. So
yeah, and these will come in like a pack of 10
or 15, something like that. I don't remember, but yeah, it'll make it really easy.
Yeah,
and affordable.
So if you want to do table stand here and there, you can just buy a pack, have it on the truck,
yeah,
and use them when you need them, which is great.
Makes it easy. Let's see, lots of questions in here. So thank you so much for participating today. Can only one phone be synced with Bluetooth for music? Jim wants to ask. Great question,
No,
Jim.
you can have up to 5 phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up to 5 phones at any time can be synced. Now, obviously, only one phone can be streaming music at a time.
Yeah.
But you can have 5 phones.
Might be kind of fun to have a music war, you know? I haven't tried that yet, like to pair mine with it and to see, like, can I just stop your music and start playing mine instead? Might be kind of fun to see what families do with that.
Yeah.
So. Great question. Let's see. Could you use the Bluetooth speaker, the music streaming, to have a phone conversation? Could you basically have a phone conversation over there?
It's a good question. I haven't tried phone conversations, but I do know that, virtually all the other sounds from your phone will push over there. We had a guy here at the show who was kind of playing tricks on people. Mm-hmm. He had a microphone app on his phone. And so as he talked into the microphone app, kind of behind the curtain, it would actually come out the speakers on the sound. So there's going to be a lot of new use cases I think people will find for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Stan wants to know if Stan, good to see you, buddy. We missed you this year. Wants to know if you could use it as a speakerphone. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I could see the value in that. And again, as we continue to get feedback like this, we'll look and see what's possible and see if we can, improve it. Do the panel speakers and the bass speakers work together? So we talked about those quad sound speakers. If you connect an IQ Base, does that mean that the front speakers stop working?
No. So they're all designed to work together. In fact, this actually has two kind of this has a one very large speaker in the back of it, and then 2 actual passive woofers on the side of it. So, and this is designed to work directly with the front 4 speakers. And really, what it does is it adds that kind of fullness, that volume, a little bit more low-end bass to the music, right, versus kind of the higher-end treble. So it really just kind of rounds out that sound, especially when you listen to music, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Another great question for Jim. Can you do live view on the new camera? Great question. And that is, we said we weren't really going to talk about roadmap stuff, but that is absolutely on the roadmap, is to turn this camera into a live camera, using alarm.com. So from your alarm.com app, you'll be able to say, not just peek in, which you can do today, and get a photograph, but actually do a live video stream from it. And with the horsepower that we've got on this panel, that should be more than enough. to be able to accomplish that. So we're really excited about that coming in a future software update.
And that's a great example of why we put that horsepower under the hood. Why what you can't see matters. Again, back to the phone reference. Everybody knows what a phone feels like when you start doing too much with software and the phone starts to kind of bog down and be a little bit slow. So it's really important to continue to push the envelope from the hardware perspective, even if it's not something you see every day.
Yep. Jim wants to know, what are the two green LEDs on the top of the panel? What do those represent?
Yeah, so those are the status LEDs. So similar to the Gen 2 panel, we had that status LED off to the right-hand side. They change colors, so they can go, green to red during an arming state. These are also full RGB. And again, there's one facing backwards, so we actually have 3 LEDs. And these are full RGB LEDs. So potentially in the future, we could do a lot more than just arming status with these. We can do just about any color under the sun that we want to do that. We're not limited to just, green and red like we are on IQ Panel 2. So we can really kind of change that up through software over time. In fact, they can be dimmed, by the way. These can be dimmed. We actually have an ambient light sensor on this panel. We didn't have that on the Gen 2 panel. So the screen can actually auto dim based on the lighting in the room. Now, we still have a lot of the other ways we control the screen with nighttime mode and all that kind of cool stuff. But I've really been enjoying that, so it's not too bright at night.
Whitney wants to know if you can take these and turn them into lasers to insta-kill anyone with an unauthorized password.
No.
Oh. Is that coming in a future software update?
No.
Oh. A lot of comments about the colors. Ethan says, I'd love black on a table stand. Ethan also says white on the wall all day long. Vivian wants to know if black's already available or if the new panel's only going to be available in white. Let's talk about availability a little bit.
Perfect. So we have gone through, obviously a long development cycle. We've been working on this behind the scenes for a couple of years now, which is great. And we are done with the beta program actually. So we're past that. And, we expect to be shipping this panel here soon. We have not released an official date for that. But we are at the very tail end of development here, and I think within the next couple of weeks or month or so, you guys are going to see great things here. So to answer this question specifically, both white and black will be available from day one, so that's great news. And we are not far away from day one now. So you'll see a little bit more on exact timing here in the future days.
And that goes into all the questions you guys have been asking about pricing. What's the price on it? How does it compare to IQ Panel 2? Very comparative. Your distributor sets your pricing for you based on your special pricing agreement you have with them. If you don't happen to have a special pricing agreement with your distributor, please ask them for one. We want everyone to have special pricing. You all deserve it. So based on your volume, based on your situation, the other things that they might buy from you, things like that. We want to make sure that you get on that special pricing. So please ask for that, and they will of course let you know what the price of IQ Panel 4 when it becomes available. But it is coming very, very soon. So some other good questions here. Is the voice, two-way voice better on IQ Panel 4?
Yeah, it is. And again, we spent a lot of time there, both on the microphone quality side. Now look, we actually think IQ Panel 2 had pretty good two-way voice, in fact, really good two-way voice, especially on the microphone side. We heard time and time again from central station operators that they could hear crystal clear on IQ Panel 2. But we had feedback that on the end user side, the voice audio was kind of low. The end user couldn't hear the operator as well as they would like to all the time, right? And that depends on installation environment, hardwood floors, carpet, all kinds of stuff goes into that on how something sounds when installed in the home. But with the larger speakers, we kind of get that much louder operator experience for the end user. And then with the addition of the third microphone, we get even better mic quality for the operator on his end. So we're super excited about that. Now, not everybody uses two-way voice, but for those that do, it's very important to them. And so that's something that we wanted to improve upon.
Okay. And then Frank similarly is asking the voice itself of the panel chimes, enunciating panel actions, things like that. Has that been improved from IQ Panel 2? And the answer is not currently, because it is the same exact software as IQ Panel 2. But we are working on some things for a future software update that we think you'll be very pleased with. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and that is one point. I think a lot of people know our story, right? And we start with an Android operating system as our base layer OS, and then we customize heavily from there and really build upon that. And that gives us a lot of leverage for software updates and menus and text-to-speech and voice and language translation. It's just a really powerful starting point. And IQ Panel 2 was Android 5, and this is Android 9. So a really big leap forward in the Android spectrum. That comes with a lot more built-in functionality and things you'll see us doing over time. So again, big leaps forward, right?
Big leap forward
4 and 5 year gap.
without trying to make too much ripples in your everyday and requiring you to do more training and things like that. So as we continue to leverage Android 9 and everything that's in there, you'll start seeing more and more over the software updates that are coming out. So
that's right.
Great question. Let's see. Where can I find out more about this panel? There's 2 places. Of course, you can always go to Qualsys.com. Right on the homepage, you'll see an image. You can click on it and go to the IQ Panel 4 page. Learn a lot about it. There's a great new video that we just produced. It's the one that's looping in the background here that our creative team has worked very hard to help illustrate a lot of the features we've talked about today. And you'll be able to see that and watch that and share that. There's also a link to the press release there, which has even more detail about the IQ Panel 4. And then additionally, Neil, if you don't mind getting the link and putting it in the chat for everyone, there is a technical webinar on IQ Panel 4 tomorrow that you'll be hosting to help all of our technicians and installers really. And it's just a workshop, so we're going to be, go quick and easy.
30 minutes.
Yeah. Go in depth on what the technical things that you need to know for IQ Panel 4 are, and we'll cover that in depth. So.
Yeah, and I would say, the reason the website's important too is, that's going to continually get updated here.
Oh yeah.
So keep coming back to the website, keep checking for documents and uploads and new photos and new videos. Yeah. Because that'll be all rolling out here over the course of the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Nicholas wants to know if the built-in siren is the same. Good question.
It's actually not. The built-in siren is different. So we actually use the 4 speakers on the front of the panel as the siren. We're able to get a lot of different cadences, a lot of different tones out of that, and a lot more flexibility than maybe a traditional kind of piezo siren that was in the back of the Gen 2 panel. So we're in a different direction there. I think you're going to be pleased.
Great question, Nicholas. Let's see. Who is this? Dave wants to know, did you do anything about the power supply length? Can you run longer power wires?
So we stayed with a 7-volt transformer, just like Gen 2. That allows you to just kind of slot this in with what you're used to. Now 7 volts should get you a pretty good distance. On 18.2, you should be able to go, if you do the voltage drop calculation, I know the manual says 100 feet, so we'll kind of stick with that. But if you do your actual voltage drop calculation, it's a lot more like, 180 feet, 200 feet on 18.2. If you're on a much thinner 22 gauge wire, you're going to be down, around the 75, 80 feet length from your voltage drop calculation. Manual says 25 feet. So gauge of wire is important.
The manual always is very, very conservative because we know we can't always control all the installation environments and the variables. So, in reality, when your actual situation comes in, if you've got a way to calculate that voltage drop, you can actually potentially, depending on the environment, get much longer wire runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So many good questions. I'm trying to make sure that I ask unique ones because so many people are asking the same things. Does the new panel have a zone type for disarming, like disarm from a card reader or access control panel? John wants to know.
Yeah, it's like a key switch disarm. We don't have that today. That's certainly something we could add down the road in software. So not something we do today or get a lot of feedback on, but I appreciate that. We'll definitely note it down.
It's a good comment. There are lots of ways to disarm the IQ panel, of course. You can do it right from the keypad, with an authorized code. You can do it remotely from the Alarm.com app. You can do it with voice control using one of Alarm.com's integrations with Amazon Alexa or Siri shortcuts or Google Assistant. You can do it with Bluetooth disarming. So there's lots of great ways to do that. And in some cases, you can do auto disarming if you've got that as part of your account. So automatically disarm, like in a business where you say, hey, I just wanted to disarm automatically at 9 a.m. because that's when we open or something. So lots of great options there. From a disarming standpoint to give you some flexibility for your customers. Julia wants to know, has the chip shortage affected the rollout supply chain, and will it affect it once it's released?
Well, look, that's a good question, and no doubt, I think the chip shortage has been challenging for everybody. We feel very lucky. We're very well positioned in that, and so far we've been managing pretty good. So don't expect that to affect the actual rollout of this product here. In the coming weeks and months, we're in a pretty good position there. But Yeah, look, that's something we deal with every single day. I think everybody sees that in the news, and many of our competitors have been a little less fortunate in that arena, but
we've been blessed.
We've been blessed there, yeah.
Yeah. Michael wants to know, is there a way that I could participate in the soft launch? I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about that, and the answer is yes. Soft launch for us is essentially where we're going to make it available to our distributors. Our distributors will hopefully make it available to you as well, and then you can make purchases and install it and have those great experiences. But we hold off on doing our real big marketing pushes, our press releases, our webinars, things like that. Now, this is a little bit of an anomaly because we're at ISC West, and at ISC West, you always show things that are coming soon. This is coming very soon, so it's a little bit different. But the goal for soft launch is for you to be able to get it, to try it out, to experience it, and see how absolutely amazing the smart mount is, the flex tilt on the camera is, the Bluetooth audio streaming, music streaming, the table stand options, and of course that high-speed processor and all the great radios that have now been improved.
Yeah, and I would just say talk to your territory rep. We have a great field team out there of both TSM sales guys as well as TAMs, your technical component of that, and talk with them, make sure we reserve you some inventory and kind of have that in place for you. We'd love to have you as part of the soft launch and get your feedback.
There is a few questions about people who might have seen some of this at one of our customer events about a year ago with a new user interface. And if you've seen that user interface, I don't want to talk too much about it because it is something we're very excited about, but not something that's available at launch. But expect to see a whole new user interface with this via software update. And for those of you that are worried about that, don't worry. You'll always be able to choose the traditional user interface if you want that as well. So some great things. Again, part of that software roadmap we don't want to talk too much about, but there's some awesome things coming for sure. Let's see. Is SS and SI participating in the soft launch? I believe so. We actually just met with Jake yesterday in person. He was here at ISC. It was awesome to have him sitting right here in our suite. We had a great conversation about this. He was just as excited about it as we are. So he, as well as all of our wonderful distributors, I'm sure will be participating in soft launch. Let's see. LTE signal strength poor in certain locations. What do you do about that? I think that's a great opportunity to talk about dual path connectivity.
Yeah, so, a couple things. So we have both AT&T and Verizon, right? So you have some choice there. We made improvements to the cell antenna. Traditionally on the panel, we get 1, maybe 2 bars higher than your average cell phone. We're a larger form factor. We can have really nice antennas in it. We're always powered. So, I think from a cellular connectivity standpoint, we do a really good job. Now, look, if you're in a location where there just is no cell signal, then that's where dual path connectivity becomes even more important. And so, all of our panels since day one, even from the first generation panel, have had this, where we have both cellular and Wi-Fi embedded as a standard, just like your phone. That becomes a huge part of the connectivity to the back end and the central station, and ultimately to the customer, whether that's having 2 paths that run simultaneously for kind of reliability as well as security, right? Making sure the signals go through, or whether it's just for everyday interactions, right? I think we've all been on those installs with products that don't have dual path connectivity where, maybe you're not as worried about the alarm signaling, but you just want to be able to arm it and disarm it in a timely manner and have the usability be good, right? And you don't want it to sit and spin and circle and circle and circle and circle.
Yeah.
Dual path is huge for that. For those of you that have used the IQ panel, you know how fast it arms and disarms. It's, sometimes I press the app and the panel disarms so quickly, I can't believe it. It could actually go that fast, but it really does help. So dual path is a big part of that.
And that intelligent redundancy that happens automatically is huge. And of course, as you improve your network with IQ Wi-Fi and make it so your mesh network in your home gets better coverage, better speed, things like that, that will only improve the communication there. So great question from David there. Really appreciate that. Let's see. Here's a question that the answer is no, but I'm going to mispronounce your name. I'm sorry. Arunkian wants to know, can we make a VoIP call to the panel? We don't make that available. It's not a feature we've done right now to make this a phone in the home, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's just not something that's been a big request or need. We'd love to learn more about what you're interested in. If that's something that's no one really wants a landline these days. But on that same note, again, part of our roadmap is the ability to activate this camera so you can be able to peek in and look at it. And if you know anything about live view, live answer, essentially you could accomplish that if you wanted to be able to call the panel or have that communication. So that's coming in a future software update. So let's see. Lots and lots and lots of questions.
Take a couple
here.
more here.
Yeah. Is the new panel thinner?
It's about the exact same thickness actually as IQ Panel 2. So.
Yeah, Kurt wants to know. Yeah, and then Kurt was asking, is new thinner, and then Mark's asking, how does it compare in overall size to IQ Panel 2?
Yeah, so it's a little bit taller, right? It's pretty much the exact same width, the exact same thickness, and then obviously we grew it by about the width, the height of this speaker bar here. So it's definitely a little bit taller than IQ Panel 2. I don't know if we have one over there or not, but anyway, similar in size, but definitely taller because of the speaker bar on the bottom there. Let me see if I can find a question here. Somebody asked, will the webinar be recorded? I think we're recording it.
Absolutely. I hope we're recording this. I mean, at this point, we're not.
We should be. We typically do. And we host them on our YouTube page afterwards. So if you want to go check that out, you can. That's youtube.com/Qualsys.
Correct. And we'll send out a link to that to everyone so you can enjoy that. So just as a point of reference, IQ Panel 2 compared to IQ Panel 4, you can see it's essentially the same, but now you've got that quad sound speaker bar on the bottom. So if you were to basically put IQ Panel 2 there, you'd see it's about identical to it. It's hard to tell the width because I don't have the backplate on this because it was mounted over there, but from a width perspective, it's about the same as well. So great questions from both Mark and Kurt, and I'm sure many other people are getting a lot of redundant questions in here.
Jeremy, you got a couple questions about, will the live peek in for the panel camera allow for two-way voice? That's been asked a few times now.
Yeah, so from a peek in perspective, if you go to your alarm.com app with an IQ Panel today, IQ Panel 2, you go down to the camera app, in fact, let me just pull this up on my own thing just so you can see it. So, Face ID. So I log into my alarm.com. This is my house. I scroll down here, and under the, where is it? Doorbell. Oh, it's because I have IQ Hub there, which we're not going to talk about today, but let me show you this one. Here we go. Okay. So there's an images tab here, and there's a camera icon. I don't know if you can see that. I've got my questions up right here, so let me move it down so you can make sure you can see this. So there's a camera icon right there under the images section. If I touch this right here, it asks, do you want to peek in now or peek in next motion? Peek in now basically says, take a photograph of whatever the panel can see right here in this moment. And using dual path, because it goes so fast, it'll literally say, go. It'll capture that photo, and then you actually get a photo, same as a disarm photo, sent to your phone or saved in your alarm.com app.
So what I think they were asking is, in the future,
yes,
when we turn this into an actual IP camera, will we get two-way voice over the IP camera? And the answer is TBD. That's certainly something that we could do and is on the roadmap here. As we start to get into that feature set development and make that happen, I love that you brought that up, and we'll definitely be taking a look.
And to me, it's basically live view and live answer, right? Live view today, you can talk with that video doorbell, from the panel screen. Live, view for a video camera, indoor or outdoor. Again, you can do that. You can see that. If those video cameras, those indoor cameras have a microphone and speaker, you can be able to converse with those, through the panel, the same as you would a video doorbell. We anticipate the same kind of functionality happening when we activate this as a live streaming camera on the panel. Now, will it happen right when we activate that? It might be that we can only see first, and then later we'll activate the voice functionality. A lot of that is up to alarm.com and how we function out with them. So a great partnership with alarm.com to enable all of those features and functions in the mobile app. So stay tuned on that. There will be more to come for sure. So great question. Neil, other questions that you think we missed that are worth addressing?
We have, will the panel ship to the UK, IQ Panel 4?
Oh, good question. The answer is yes. The better question is when. Our plan right now is through the end of 2021, we'll be trying to get those into Europe and into Latin America and other places. So as far as when your country will be available, there's a lot of things in there. There's regulations, there's certifications, there's radio frequencies that are specific to your country, things like that. There's a lot of considerations, but we are doing our very best to try and get it to you as soon as possible. So thank you for that question.
Awesome. We also have a lot of people. So what is the range now for Power G? So we've said it's improved. There's a lot of questions. So what's the Power G range in IQ4? Sorry to put you on the spot, Kev.
Yeah, that's okay. So
14.
We so on IQ Panel 2, we never really spec'd an actual range. Many of you guys have seen us do range testing, and we know internally how far it can go, but we never really said that publicly.
Mm-hmm.
We use something like 4 times the range. But, we were getting 3,000, 3,500 feet on IQ Panel 2.
Open air, right?
This is open air testing. Yeah, this is benchmark open air testing, right? Which is kind of what we do.
And if you haven't seen it already, there's a great video, maybe Whitney can find it, where we actually test Power G range on the salt flats in Utah. It's the place where they go out and they race, race cars and do the land speed tests or land speed races and top speed tests. So, we've got a great video showing you how far it really went open air. Now, open air is not the same as actual in an install environment, right?
Yeah, and so here we're over, over 4,000 feet. So 10, 15% further on Power G is pretty comfortable.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Neil, any final questions before we wrap up today?
Nothing that's standing out other than customize. Is it possible to customize the speaker and the nameplate?
Okay, good question. Color. There's going to be a lot of customization options coming in the future. Currently, right now, on the panel, if you have an Alarm.com account and you are able to push your logo to the top corner, you can have that in there. You can also have your information appearing in here in the screen, in the panel information. You can have a couple taglines, company name, a customer service number, a website, lots of great information right here in this area. You can also customize your video tutorials so that maybe you're using your video tutorials, things like that. With IQ Panel 4, we've got all that same functionality, but we're also adding in a future software update, the ability to do some color customization on the screen. So, that will come as we introduce our new user interface. So be watching for that in a future software update. And we know that there's many of our distributors out there who have begun doing some custom branding on the panel surface. And we've been meeting with them and making sure that they have prototypes of those so that if your distributor happens to offer that service, that they'll be able to do that for you as well, to custom brand the panel for you. There's a lot of people who like doing that as well. Yeah. Good question. Everyone, this has been phenomenal. Sorry, go ahead, Neil. You got something else?
I was going to say one more for you before you guys sign off. Does it have an SD card slot? And if not, how are you going to be able to get your stuff loaded?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do not have an SD card slot on this panel. That's one of the things that we went away from. Instead of the so we use SD card slot for a couple things, right? We could use it for local software updates if you didn't have Wi-Fi. And we could use it primarily for branding, right? So custom photo frame screensaver, what we call dealer billboard, where you could lock, 4 photos to the actual photo frame screensaver that customers couldn't delete, custom help videos, as well as the logo in the upper right-hand corner. Since we don't have an SD card for that anymore, we've got a really slick new way of being able to custom brand the panel, and that's directly through the panel access point. So the panel can broadcast its own hotspot, its own little Wi-Fi network. You connect your phone directly to that access point, and you can actually side load all your branding. So now instead of carrying around an SD card, you simply have that in a folder on your phone, your branding, your help videos, your logo, your billboard, the software files that you might need for that, and you just directly side load them onto the panel, local, no Wi-Fi connection required, and you can brand the panel that way. So that's something we're super excited about.
Yeah, and think about how much easier that is for a technician to be able to say, hey, look, you as the marketing department or the sales leader can say, hey, here's the new files. Make sure you use these with our new logo, with our, new contact information, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of saying, okay, you got to bring your SD card in. We're going to connect it to a computer and load the new files on. And he has to leave the field to go do that. So
yeah, so a lot of you guys have company phones. Your phone administrator can just push down the new content to your phones.
Yeah.
And on your next job, you just have new content, new screensavers,
and
stuff like that.
Again, all in the spirit of improving the installation experience. As you guys have talked to us, as you shared things on Facebook, as you met with us in person, as you called into tech support, we're listening. We're taking that information that you shared with us and saying, how can we make an even better product for you? How can we make this better? And it starts with that speed. We're making it faster. We're making it better range. We want to make sure that this becomes the panel that can continue to receive software updates and power those software updates in the foreseeable future. And sadly, that's not something that some of our competitors have considered. They're looking at things and saying, how do I compete with perhaps IQ Panel 2? And they're producing things that are on the same level as IQ Panel 2, but IQ Panel 2 is 4+ years old. So, if you're looking at that technology, we need to make sure that we're looking at the technology for tomorrow, not the technology for yesterday. So, IQ Panel 4 is absolutely that platform that helps you do that. And with our new smart mount system, with flex tilt, with music streaming, and all the features that you know and love, with a UI that you're instantly familiar with, that you're already trained on, that you can do everything with because you're familiar with it and you know it, IQ Panel 4 is absolutely the best choice for you. The only choice you need to make is, do I get black or do I get white?
Thank you, guys. It was awesome.
It's been awesome. Yeah. Hope you enjoy it. Before we go, I want to show you the view in Las Vegas. That is what you're missing out on. There's a construction dome over there. I think they're building, maybe that's a motorcycle dome. I don't know.
A theater.
It's a theater of the round, sounds like. So, goodbye from beautiful Las Vegas. We hope you had a great time. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. Remember, we're recording this session, so we'll put it on YouTube here shortly, and then we'll send you out an email that allows you to be able to rewatch that, share it with others. Thank you, everyone, for participating today. There was a lot of questions, a lot of participation. And Kevin, thank you for being on today. I know how busy you are, so really appreciate you participating today.
You bet.
Neil, Whitney, thanks for harboring all those questions. And Neil, we're looking forward to the technical webinar today. I know you've been hosting that whole series, and you got Kevin as a special guest tomorrow to do that. So if you don't have registration for that already, click that link that Neil put in the chat so you can get registered for it and participate, or have your technicians participate in those technical webinars. And it's not just tomorrow, but there's a whole series. Every single week there's a new one. There's some really great content coming out on those. So again, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon.